I share the same passion that my colleagues share. I have my own personal experiences with the SMDF, Mr. Chairman. Cousin of mine, and I'm going to use the word terrorize, has been terrorized by the SMDF for years. And it's unacceptable and it needs to stop. Before Irma, those living in the homes at Belvedere and other homes have been victims of mismanagement and victims of organizational failure. That is clear. It didn't start 2 years ago. It started a long time ago, and it needs to end. With this new decade, a new government and a new parliament, we need to make a new approach. We need to create new ways in which to help the people of Belvedere. My colleagues have mentioned so many different things. So not only is the foundation to blame, but government is also to blame, and by extension Parliament, because we all have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to the people of this country first, before our own pockets, before self-interest, before everything else. We have a responsibility. When I think about Belvedere, I think about a single mother with children who does not have a man at home to fix the hole in her wall, to fix the windows that are broken. She has to deal with tiles lifting up. I mean, and again, it's been years. It didn't just start happening. The MPs mentioned calling the foundation to Parliament on 3 occasions. 3 occasions. That's not calling anymore, that's begging. And since when does Parliament have to beg anybody to ask them to be accountable to the people of this country? All the people are asking for is accountability, integrity, and execution. Everyone has a job to do. We have a job to do. The foundation has a job to do. Government has a job to do. That's all the people are asking for us to do our jobs, to create a better quality of life for them. That's all. Better quality of life. Basic. MP mentioned human rights. That's all. They're not asking for anything more than they deserve. What is dangerous about the situation in Belvedere is that people are being pushed to the brink. To the brink. And what will they do? The senior can't do much unless he has family. But when the single mother who cannot stand walking in water when it rains in the morning, when she is pushed to the brink, what will she do? What will some of the boys on the block do? Because of the way in which they are living in those circumstances, cannot continue like this. Funds have been released to the foundation. They need to be held accountable. The threats of eviction are real. They happen every day. Yet the tenants are not receiving what is promised to them. But yet they are being threatened. They are the ones being threatened. I only have one question at this time for the minister, through you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to know if the foundation naturally receives subsidies. Are they meeting the criteria to receive those subsidies, if they are receiving those subsidies? And I would like to know how much subsidy, if any, is being sent to them. And so I look forward, like my fellow MPs, to this meeting with the SMDF. It is going to be a meeting, a serious meeting. In fact, it's going to be historical, according to the minister. He said it earlier. It's going to be a historical meeting. Why? Because, again, the people of Belvedere have been suffering for too long. And in 2020, the way in which things have been done in this country, it can't continue like this. And so the Parliament is ready. I believe that the government will be ready as well. And so I look forward, Mr. Chairman, to the continuation of this meeting.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
The civil servant's pension is the most complex part of the civil servant's legal position. Besides that, it is also a very sensitive subject and an expensive one. In 2015, it became clear that the present pension plan was no longer sustainable. Government has had great difficulty in meeting its financial obligations, and APS reported that the cover ratio was sinking below 100%. This meant, in order to ensure the survivability of the pension plan, premiums would have to be increased or the system would require a drastic reform. I think I should repeat that sentence, Mr. Chairman. With the reported findings that the sustainability of this fund was in jeopardy and that APS would be seeing decreases in the cover ratio sinking below 100%, it meant that to ensure the survivability of the pension, the ability of the pension to actually pay out funds in the future, premiums would have to be raised or increased, or the system that we're functioning in would require a drastic reform or change. With the understanding that increasing the premiums was not an option, reform was made the choice. The draft national ordinance that is before us today is the product of that reform. In order to ensure a smooth transition, a work group was initiated to assist government with the changes in the draft law. This work group consisted of members of the GOA, the GOA, and advisors of the Ministry of VSA and Finance. In January 2017, the government and the unions WICSU, Y2, ABVO, and ANAPB in the GOA, so those members, part of the GOA, signed a covenant for which parties agreed to make the changes to the pension law as mentioned in this draft law. Some members of the work group are also present today to assist government and parliament. After the first Central Committee meeting, 2 public meetings were held, legislation was discussed, and now, after having coming back from a second set of Central Committee meetings, we are now here at a very crucial phase in the legislative process. This is, as a matter of fact, the second time that this topic, this piece of legislation, has reached to the public meeting of Parliament. I received the final report of the last Central Committee meeting on meeting number 2 on Monday, January 20th. I believe it was sent from Parliament on Friday, but it is only received by the organization of government on Monday past. I have, as Minister of General Affairs, presented the response following the final report of the Central Committee Number two, on Wednesday, yesterday, January 2nd, 2020, regarding the National Ordinance Pension Reform Civil Servants. And at this point, Mr. Chairman, I ask if that has indeed been received yesterday as it was sent and disseminated to the members of Parliament. Yes? Thank you. Of course, the opportunity for members of Parliament to properly peruse such, as it was actually a report, the report that was sent to us contained the questions asked by members of Parliament as well as the answers provided, and were read here actually by Member of Parliament, then sitting Prime Minister Wycliffe Smith. These are now also in your possession in writing. Advice was received from several stakeholders, Mr. Chairman. The APS General Fund, St. Martin. The reform has been presented in several meetings to Parliament. APS is currently waiting on Parliament and the other stakeholders to finalize their tasks in order to get this legislation approved. The goal of the reform, from APS's standpoint, is to ensure that it is financially, the scheme of pension fund is financially sustainable. That it means it can continue to generate, to be able to pay out persons who are going on pension on a yearly basis. The pension covenant was signed in January 2017, and it contains the agreed upon points from the work group. The consensus had been reached prior to December 2016, such as a switch to the average pay pension and the increase of the pensionable age to 65, and the one-time increase of pension entitlements by 10% accrued rights.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
One of my concerns is that within the reform, from 62 to 65, if a worker decides to take their retirement, then they would be penalized. This, for us as unions, should be taken out. The penalization of the workers should be taken out. Why? Because in the overgangsregeling from 60 to 62, there was a possibility for the workers to go anytime, just with a notification of 6 months prior. Anytime they could have gone on pension. And if they did do the 2 years complete, they would accrue a 2% additional benefit for each year that they would do. Now, here we have in a scenario where these workers are going to be actually working, if you look good, from 60 to 65. It's 5 years longer. But if you decide within the scope of reaching 65 to go earlier, you will be penalized. That was one of the main things that the workers was up against. The next point that the workers were against is to take away the Duurtoeslag. The Duurtoeslag is something that is added to your pension. And why? Because in the meantime, when the pension reformed in 1998 and it became mandatory, we got what we call a franchise of the AOV. Only now a lot of people are realizing the working of the franchise. But that franchise gave you that you would not be getting your pension anymore plus AOV, but you will be getting your pension. With the AOV, it would make your total 70%. So persons before this reform were getting their 70% as a full pension plus the AOV. That is no longer possible. Now, if the Duurtoeslag is also taken away, the Duurtoeslag is what would create the balance, financial balance for the pensioner when it comes to this franchise of the AOV. If that is one of the things that will be detrimental. If you have to actually look at the system of indexation, it is when the belegging or the pension fund has 115%, then they would directly index. But when we don't have a guarantee when that would ever happen, while the active civil servants are already seeing the consequence that from the year 2012 they have not received COLA, and we can have governments with snap elections every year or every 2 years, and then when it comes to given the cost of living indexation, the COLA, you will be told that they don't have any money. It put you to raise your eyebrows, because from 2012 to 2020, that is a period of 8 years. Indexation is to make sure that the purchasing power of the workers is, guaranteed and stabilized. We are living in St. Martin where the cost of living has been on the rise. No one can contradict that. And then here we have salaries that are already frozen for a number of years. You're going to have the effect of not being able to collect anymore a pension based on the last 3 years of your income, the end loan as they would say, but it's going to shift to the middle loan, and that is all the negative effects that it would have. So basically, I am saying these effects were already discussed with our members at a meeting sometime last year in John Lamini. We also discussed it with the then parliamentarians. There is now a new group of persons in parliament that the 2 sessions that went before, where one entailed the actuary actually coming and giving a presentation to the parliamentarians. This whole new group is a whole new makeup, in my opinion, of different players in parliament, different parliamentarians, so to speak. And then you're going to get on a short notice that there will be a meeting to sign this law. It is something that has me very much worried, and I believe it is time, as the slogan said, to stand for something, because if you leave everything that is going through on that law, if everything stands as it is, this will have a very negative impact on the workers and their pension. Already you are having some financial impact with the change of 62 to 65 years. That would also mean, look at it good, before you had to have 30 years fully paid into that pension plan to get your 70%. Now, I mean, from the time it became mandatory, that has gone also 5 extra years because you need now 35 years. It would mean that some people, when they reach at age 65, they would have deposited more than 35 years. They would have been part of this pension fund.
Why did you make the move from public education to the library?
As I'm going to say it like this, I saw the library advertise the position for director. I have been in education for over 3 decades. I believe that with my knowledge and my experience, I can make a valuable contribution to the library. And I applied, and it was like, wow, this is really coming through. And I thought it was the right time, because if you have heard, we've spoken before about the public schools, we've spoken about other things. The reality is there comes a time when you have to say, it's time for others to take over and step back, because the community is changing, and yes, you know, I've been through all the ministers in the ministry, and I believe that I have done the best I can to put the public schools in a position where they can build and become even more. And I have left a good group of people there, and I would just hope that, as I said in the press release then, that the focus will remain the children, because that's the focus in the library too. The focus is the children, it's the young adults, it's the senior citizens, it's everybody. And I've come to realize with my orientation the last 2-3 weeks that the library indeed do have a program that anyone that is really interested in developing themselves can tap into.
Mr. Martin spoke of the challenges that the library is currently facing. Public space has become limited somewhat because of the smaller area that the library is now being housed. Going forward, you try to better use the library as a service-oriented entity for St. Martin in particular. Is there anything that you're looking forward to challenging or tackling first and foremost?
The board and I have had discussions, but the reality is that I do have to compliment the board and the staff, because just this morning I had a brief meeting with a couple of the staff, and the automation at the library is second to none. Even though scaling down, we are like 7% space-wise than what we had at the
10%.
Well,
7 to 10,
between, yeah.
7 to 10%. It's leaning down to 10 compared to what they had first. And in going into there on the 2nd of January, because even though I was appointed before, I took my time before I entered the building to see how organized, you know, they are in terms of making sure the operations take place from 8 until 5 or 8 until 8, because on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, the library is open in the evening. So to see what, with the guidance and the support of the the board and I think last year or a couple of years ago, Mr. Lucas was also hired in as a program coordinator. They have really worked together to really keep the structure running. So I'm very much impressed with the activities and the operations in terms of what's happening at the library.
Is there any area of improvement that you have identified as the director of the library?
In my discussions with the board when I was being recruited, one of the areas we talked a lot about is improvement in terms of upgrade of the staff, improvement in terms of, right now the main discussion we are having is how can we offer the public locally and abroad more e-books, online books, because we are limited in space. So by us increasing our online books, persons don't really have to come to the library. So that is where the focus is going to be this year, and I understood it started since last year, so it's nothing new that I'm bringing. I keep telling them I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm here to look at what's happening and for us to come together on how we can improve it. Because the library staff there, a lot of them are there for many years. So sometimes you just mention one word or one program and they could just go on for hours because they've lived it. So the focus for this year that I would like to add to is how can we really increase the online services of the library. How can we work together with the board, how can we work with the board to get the government and other stakeholders to understand that it's important that we get their support to move out of that temporary location, because that also is stifling the services that we would like to offer the public.